All right, so we're going to go over to these two problems on page 65 and just talk about a little bit of the nuances and details here. Obviously, the first thing you should have done was to highlight everything, so make sure you've done that. In fact, make sure you've done the problem or at least attempted it until we move forward. All right, so our boy Josh, right, got into a little bit of debt after he bought his house, $6,500 in credit card debt. Interest 15.99% compounded daily. Wants to pay it off in 3 years. What's his monthly payment? How much total interest has he paid? Next thing, of course, write the formula down. So get that down. Again, make sure you've done it. But if you haven't, write that down first. This is our formula. And so we should pay attention to some key details. So A is our monthly payment. That's what we're looking for in this problem. That's our monthly payment. P is the amount borrowed. R is our interest rate, and N is the number of total payments. So obviously we should go ahead and fill this out. So our monthly payment is going to be equal to $6,500. That's how much he's borrowed. And then now we're going to do the rate. Remember, the rate is 0.1599. And here's the reality, guys. The reality is that this is a little confusing. I mean, actually, it's very confusing. All right, that's the reality. And why is it confusing? Think about, this is your time to think about what, the American banking system, JP Morgan, Chase, you guys might not know, but in 2008, major banks were bailed out due to the housing crisis that really was manufactured by these banks, right? What you need to know is that problems 1 and 2 are real problems, right? These are taken directly from Southwest Airlines, are taken directly from credit card page. So Chase is the bank. And number 2 is taken directly from Rocket Mortgage, which is owned by Quicken Loans, right? So these are two banking institutions. The reality is that the way these formulas work depend on the type of problem that it is. That's just real. So normally what we would do, all right, normally we would take our rate and, like the formula says, we would divide it by the number of times that we're compounding. However, banks, when they're talking about credit cards, so this really only applies to credit cards, they literally calculate the interest rate differently. And so we only need to divide it by the number of payments that we're going to make in a month. So in this case, since we're dealing with monthly payments, we can divide this 0.155 or 1.1599 by 12 instead of 365. And so, in other words, this compounded daily is built into the 15.99%. So this is a real world problem, which means it is more intricate. So you're welcome. But yeah, I just did a bunch of research, and that's the reality. So normally, so if you had it set up with 365, you weren't really wrong. It's just that banks literally give you interest rates differently, right? That's a real thing. It's not an excuse. That's literally real life. So you have to go digging to figure out how these work. All right. So having said that, you need to know that the rate is 0.1599 divided by 12. So just the rate is that. And now the rest of the formula is going to fill out just like we expect. So plus, we got to write that again. It's like a little dot, let's get rid of that dot. And then N is the number of total payments. How many total payments are there? Well, there's 3 years and they're monthly. So 3 times 12 is 36, right? We're dividing that. So that was, right, this piece. We're dividing that by 1 plus the rate. So 1 plus 0.1599 over 12. All of that to the 36 power. And then we're subtracting 1. And then this is just the mother of PEMDASs, right? We've got to be able to do these correctly. You've got to be able to type this in. So that is the setup. That's the explanation they set up for this problem. That's going to give you the monthly payment, which is what we're after. After that, you still need to find out the total interest. How are you going to do that? Well, you're going to make this payment how many times? You're going to make it 36 times, right? So you're going to multiply with the number you get times 36, and then you're going to subtract 6,500 because that's the amount borrowed. And the interest is going to tell you the extra amount, the amount that you paid for the privilege of borrowing the money. So we still need to figure out the total interest, right? So we can write this total interest. All right, so that's it for problem one. Get that typed in, et cetera, et cetera. So we're moving on to two. It means you've read it, right? So Sarah's house hacking. House hacking is buying a home while renting out to other people. So if you have friends, like 3, 2, 3, 4 people want to live together, you can buy a 2, 3, 4 bedroom house. You can rent it out to them and they basically are paying for your mortgage. So you're kind of owning the home and getting paid to do that. So she does it at 20. She rents out 2 bedrooms to her friends for $500 a month. She finds a 4-bedroom house for $220. All right, so it's 1 more bedroom than she needs, and then realizes she can Airbnb the 3rd room for about $10,000 a year. She makes $40,000 a year and needs to put 3.5% down as a down payment. If she gets the same rate as examples 1 Rocket Mortgage, is this a good move? How much will she profit or lose each month? How much total interest does she pay over the life of the loan? So all of the loan details are the same, except for the down payment, right? So obviously, first thing is to highlight important information. So she's going to rent out 2 bedrooms for $500 a month. She's got 4 total bedrooms. Price is $220, and she can make about $10,000 a year for the 3rd room. She makes $40,000 a year and needs 3.5% down as a down payment. So there's a lot of questions there, a lot of details, but this is a real life example of trying to work out this problem or work out how to own a home. Obviously, first thing you need to do is find out what is the formula, find out the monthly payments, right? That means we're gonna be using obviously this formula, and we're gonna be using the formula in the same way. So this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece, all of that is going to be the same because it's the same deal she's getting through Rocket Mortgage. All right. The only piece that's going to be different, so again, remember A is our monthly payment. The only piece that's going to be different is the amount borrowed. And the home costs $220,000, but she's not borrowing $220,000. And in the previous example, she put 20% down. You only need to put 3.5% down. So we can really think about this as 100% minus 3.5%. That's how much she's borrowing. So what percent would that be? And so she's borrowing 96.5%. So that's 220,000 times 96.5%. So what would that amount be? And it's going to end up being $212,000. So she doesn't have to put a lot of money down because she's using the FHA type loan, which is a real thing that she can do. So she's borrowing 212,000. That means she's responsible for, I guess, 7,700. So now we're going to go ahead and just copy all of the other information really from example 1, because it's the same rate, 3.361%, 30-year loan, and we're looking for the monthly payment. So I've done nothing other than what I asked, right, of course, you guys to do, which is to copy from the previous problem. This is our interest rate divided by 12 because there's 12 monthly payments and it's compounded monthly. Same thing here. It's being raised to the 360 power because n is the number of total payments. So that's 30 years times 12 months per year. Same thing here. So we just filled out the problem. So first thing we need to do is figure out what are the monthly payments, right? So that's what you should have at this step. After you find the monthly payments, well, then you need to figure out if it's profitable for Sarah, right? So she's making $500 a month for 2 rooms. So you can write this as income. So 500 from one room, 500 from another. That's 2 times 500. And then she's Airbnb-ing the third room. That's $10,000 per year. So if I divide it by 12, that tells me how much she's getting per month from that third room. So that is going to help us answer how much is she going to profit or lose each month. And then again, the total interest is simply the same thing that we always do. How many, what's the monthly payment, right? Times 360, because that's how many payments there are, minus the amount that she's borrowed, right? Minus the amount that she's borrowed. Total interest is going to be the monthly payment times 360 minus 212,300. So those are all of the pieces that you need to do both of these problems. All right, so I've got you set up. That should get you there. All right.